The Chicago Bears have finally won a game and ended our 14-game losing streak. The worst losing streak in franchise history. We're going to dive into it. I'm your host, Alexis Jade, and this is the Shecago Bears. Welcome in, everybody. It's been a hot minute, but I am back and ready to dive into this Bears win. We finally have won a game, and I couldn't be more excited. Full disclosure, obviously making a podcast is kind of hard when the Bears and the team you root for are losing, and especially so as miserably as they have the first 3 games of the season. But that is not why there was a little gap in podcasts. I actually was having a lot of technical difficulties. There was some personal life things that happened, but needless to say, I am back, I am here, and I am ready to go. And I am excited to talk about this win. Now, before we can even get to talking about the win and how great it feels, I think we need to do a little rewind to the past few weeks. Now, obviously, the Bears got off to a really rough start with the first 3 games of the season. We were brutally embarrassed by the Kansas City Chiefs. That was a game that went just about as bad as you could have expected it, and I actually think it went worse than anyone expected it to go. But then we came back and we played Denver, and we showed a lot of flashes, and we looked like we were improving. It looked like things were going well. And we lost a, 21-point lead to lose the game. Extremely, extremely disappointing. I think that loss hurt the most out of everything because it was just so unexpected in the sense it was a game we should have won. I think everyone went into the Denver Bronco game thinking that that was a game that was going to be our comeback game. And we lost, but we didn't get our butts kicked. We actually looked pretty competent for the most part, and we looked like it was a surefire game we were about to win until the defense coughed up some points. There was the fumble, and the game was over, and we lost. I do think that one stung really bad because it was meant to be our comeback game, and it wasn't. And at that moment, I think a lot of Bears fans really thought, we're just going to lose every game of the season, aren't we? I think this is about to be the worst season the Bears have ever had. But as much as we hate to acknowledge it or hear it from the coaches, there were a lot of flashes of potential in that game that luckily transferred over to the following game against the Commanders. Now, in that intermediate time, I did post a little rant on TikTok, I think, about all the chaos that was ensuing before the Chiefs game, leading up to the game that just happened against Commanders, where, our defensive coordinator was resigned, fired, quit. Technically, I think he resigned. We still don't know everything that happened there, and I'm not going to deep dive into the Allen Williams situation because it's just a mess, and it's a mess that we're moving past, and we're not going to talk about it anymore because that was a whole fiasco that probably could have taken up a whole podcast length to figure out what was going on there, on top of all the other crazy things that were happening at the time. Since then, Chase Claypool was gone. Claypool has officially been traded to Miami, which is big breaking news. That isn't all that shocking of news because I think we all knew that was coming after his comments regarding not feeling like he was being used properly by the coaching staff. I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Now, I do know that obviously there must have been some things going on behind the scenes, but we'll kind of talk about that more in a little bit. But basically, there's been a lot of turmoil going on around the Bears, and it really seems like this was the most chaotic dumpster fire there's ever been for the Bears. And then when we played the Broncos, we were going into it, I think, with a fresh slate and pushing all that chaos of the Allen Williams and everything else that was happening to the side and kind of just deep diving into, Braxton Jones went on IR, just kind of pushing all that to the side and dealing with what was happening in-house. Justin Fields had those comments also. Sorry, all these things are coming back to me as I talk. Justin Fields had the comments at the presser that kind of blew up, then got taken out of context, but then also wasn't taken out of context, and it was a whole thing. And I think the Bears and everyone else in the organization and the fans wanted to put it to the side and go into this Broncos game with a clean slate, especially after the loss to the Chiefs. Now, the offense came out firing on all cylinders. I thought it was a really good game for the most part from the offense, and most of that credit goes to Justin Fields. Justin Fields had an amazing game against the Broncos for at least the 3.5 quarters worth, and had went 16 for 17, and the only incompletion was on the Hail Mary to end the half, and was incredible. I mean, he was decisive, he was getting the ball out quick, he was making good reads. It just was an all-around amazing performance from Justin Fields. And it's a real shame that the game had to come down to the wire because we were up by 21 points and the defense could not keep the lead. Obviously, it doesn't all fall on the defense because there was the fumble. Now, I don't really necessarily blame Fields for that. Yes, at the end of the day, he needs to hold on to the ball, but he was put in a tough situation. I mean, he had a millisecond to respond, and there was the edge rushing him, and the ball came flying out when he tried to throw it out of bounds. So, yes, at the end of the day, it's his fault. However, that whole situation just put him in a really bad spot. And that ended up kind of being the game sealing moment where we knew we were going to lose. The defense was obviously the biggest problem, though, I think, in that game because the offense had us at a 21-point lead going into the half, and the defense let them catch up. And the defense was not able to generate a blitz. We were having receivers running wide open downfield, and it ended up costing us the game. That one was a tough loss, but luckily because it was a quick turnaround, we didn't have much time to dwell. Now, like, yes, us as fans had time to dwell and be on media and talk about it and be like, our season is doomed, and are we tanking for Caleb Williams, which I will get into. I think that's crazy talk. But because of the quick turnaround, we didn't have too much time to dwell, which means the team didn't have too much time to dwell. And we were kind of able to just go into the following week right away without sitting and dwelling on our failed attempt of a season. So we got a primetime spot, Thursday Night Football on Amazon, and what did we do? We showed out. We finally won a game. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it happened. I'm still in shock. We obviously got the unfortunate news the day of the game of Dick Butkus passing away. Obviously, he was a Shecago Bears legend, but not just for the Shecago Bears, but for the entire league of football of the NFL. He solidified what it meant to be a linebacker in the league and was obviously for the Shecago Bears and for the organization a really, really big person in the community, in the Bears organization, and will be very, very missed. And he's a legend. And we won for him. I don't know if, there was actually part of the pregame speech or not, but we got our first win after the news of his passing, and I think that's really cool. But condolences obviously go out to his family and the community. But the win, the offense, once again, luckily because of the carryover of the short week, we carried over that momentum. Justin Fields carried over that momentum into the Thursday night game, and once again was looking clean, sharp, accurate, decisive. I mean, Justin Fields was playing great football, and he had all his yards passing. Well, he had, 60 yards rushing? I don't recall. But he was being a pocket passer, which I honestly didn't think we were going to do, but it's working. And credit where credit's due, Getsy adjusted the playbook finally. It only took him 5 games, but finally adjusted to Justin Fields' strengths, which is a moving pocket, getting the play action established, getting the run game established, which was a big part of it. Khalil Herbert was a big part of getting those passing plays open because we were able to finally get the run established. Justin Fields looked great. DJ Moore looked phenomenal. I mean, we all have seen his stats circulating on Twitter, over 200 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. I mean, the dude is crazy good, and a player that Justin Fields desperately needed. And anyone trying to take away those stats from Justin Fields saying, if he didn't have DJ Moore, he wouldn't have played as well. Well, no, duh. The whole key to having success as a starting quarterback is what we all know, is having a true number 1 wide receiver who you can rely on to make the tough catches, make the contested catches, to run the correct routes. I mean, that is what he had, and that is why he had success, but it was also because Justin Fields is clearly improving as a passer, and I hope it continues into the following week. But Justin Fields looked great, and you can't take that away from him either. And the offense as a whole was cooking. The defense, actually did their job for once. We got a few sacks, we got some third down stops, and it was great until the second half. And the second half, the defense almost let the Commanders come back. They almost did, but we got a stop, we got an interception, and the offense, when push came to shove, didn't choke. The Commanders had a chance to get themselves within, I think, a touchdown and a 3-point, range of making it a close game in the fourth quarter. And the Bears and Justin Fields in the offense came out and scored a touchdown, and that kind of sealed the game. Of course, to DJ Moore was the one who scored the touchdown. And we were able to put the game away, end the game on a good fourth quarter drive from the offense, and win 40-20. So, I mean, we didn't just win, but we kind of annihilated them. Now, I know a lot of people want to discredit our wins because it was against our one win, because it was against the Commanders, who aren't a good team and don't have a good defense and whatever else you want to say. And we only scored so many points against the Broncos because they're really the worst defense in the league. But you can't, first of all, let us just be happy for a minute, please, that we finally have a win and our offense is looking effective. But two, you can't take away these wins or the success of Justin Fields these last two games because it was against bad teams. Broncos had I think 2 close games to start out the season, and at the end of the day, Justin Fields was just tearing them apart. It doesn't matter how bad you want to claim the other team is. When your quarterback goes 16 for 17 with multiple touchdowns and a half, that's good quarterback play. And it wasn't just, wide open receivers running down the field. He was making some throws with anticipation, not a lot, but some, and some really tight window throws and really accurate footballs. I mean, you can't take those away from him because it doesn't matter what defense you would have put in there. Some of those throws he made were high-level quarterback play throws. Now, for the Commanders game, there were some moments where DJ Moore was open, and that was because Fields manipulated the safety with his eyes to get DJ Moore open. He also had a really nice throw in the end zone that only DJ Moore could grab. And he also still had some tight window throws. And yes, a lot of this was a team effort coming from the play calling, coming from the establishing the run game, the play action, DJ Moore. But you can still see that Justin Fields is on an upward trajectory, and I hope it continues. And I think no matter what you want to say, you cannot take away Justin Fields' great games, the past 2 games from him. You could try to discredit it, but just give credit where credit's due. Now, going into this upcoming game on Sunday against the Vikings, I think it's a good matchup. I think it's a winnable game. I actually think our next 4 games are probably winnable games. But honestly, I'm most concerned about our defense. I think if Justin Fields and the offense can continue this growth that we're seeing and the upward trajectory of Justin Fields' game, and he stays confident, he stays decisive, the offense can keep scoring points. I mean, I don't know if we're going to win 40-20 again, but they can keep generating points. There's going to be some ebbs and flows, right? Not every game is just going to go up, 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 and up. There's going to be a game where the offense doesn't perform as well. Maybe Justin Fields throws an interception or 2, or there's a fumble on offense, or something happens, right? But if we remember last year, Justin Fields had some of his best passing stats against the Vikings. As much as you want to say the Commanders aren't a good defense, they have one of the best defensive fronts in football. So if our offensive line can hold up the way they did against that defensive line, and Justin Fields can continue to stay confident and decisive and just continue on what he's already done, we can definitely generate some points and some action in this offense going into Minnesota. What I'm worried about is our defense. Our defense looked better last week, but we were going against a rookie quarterback, and I'm a bit worried Kirk Cousins is going to just wheel and deal all over us with Justin Jefferson, and that's my biggest concern. And I'm not even going to get into, different ways we can break down this upcoming week, because at the end of the day, we just need to prove we can win another game. It doesn't come down to, they have a weak secondary, if we can do this, and X, Y, and Z. No. At this point, it just comes down to playing the game of football and the offense just continuing what they've already started and the defense just making some stops, because if we can't make any stops, we're putting our offense in a terrible position of having to win on critical downs, which is the game of football. But if your offense is generating over 20 points a game and you can't seem to come out with a win, that's a problem. So our defense needs to get enough stops and get some more turnovers, because we finally had some turnovers this last game. We need to generate more turnovers to put our offense in position to succeed, because we cannot keep putting our offense in a position of having 21, 27 points on the board and we're still fighting for our lives every single game and putting all the weight on Justin Fields and this offense's shoulders. So we need to do a better job of stopping the opposing team's offense. And if we can, in the first half, we need to hold on to that and not let them have an opportunity to catch up, because the Vikings have Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins can wheel and deal, as we all know. So we need to make sure that we find a way to stop them. But if we can, I have faith that our offense can continue on this upward trajectory. And when you look at our schedule, there's really no reason they can't. Barring any injuries, there's no reason the offense can't just continue to keep going up and up and up. So that's my hopes, and that's what I'm kind of expecting to see this upcoming game against the Vikings. Now, score prediction-wise, I'm going to guess definitely a lower score than what we just had against the Commanders, but I'm going to go, I want to say 21-17, but I really think the Vikings will get more than 17 points, but you know what? I'm changing it. My score prediction is going to be 31-27 Bears. And I hope by predicting the Bears, I didn't just jinx everything and we don't lose. But my prediction is going to be the Bears are going to continue to generate on offense and get up to 31 points with some field goals in there. And the Vikings are going to definitely be able to get some scores on our defense, but hopefully we'll be able to do just enough to beat them. The Vikings, if you've looked at their record so far, haven't really scored that many points on offense, so they're not clicking that much, and they've played some good teams, but they've also played some not so good teams and haven't been able to generate as much. So there's hope. Now, my last little tangent here is, in regards to the Chase Claypool thing, I wish him the best. I hope nothing but the best for Chase Claypool, but honestly, it was not working here in Chicago. We don't know everything that went on behind the scenes, but we do know whatever was going on was enough of a toxicity to the locker room, and there wasn't enough production to make him worth staying here. So I hope if there's any place that he can go and have a chance to get better and prove himself, it's going to be Miami. So with that head coach, I hope he can figure it out, but wish him the best. Now, my final little rant. Now, before I get into my final little rant, I just want to thank you guys for watching. I appreciate anyone who's tuning into the podcast, or if you're finding it through Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you're finding it on, I appreciate you for checking out the podcast. And if you like it, I really hope you subscribe. It's really appreciated, as well as liking and commenting. Now, my final rant is about Justin Fields, of course. We all know I'm a Justin Fields truther. I'm a little biased because I do love Justin Fields, and I think he is our quarterback going forward. Now, I understand those having doubts, especially now the potential, keyword potential, we might have the number one pick. We don't know that. None of this is for certain. So anyone saying that we trade Fields midseason is crazy, because there is no guarantee we have the number one pick. And even if we did, this is my PSA that you will not hear me talking about Caleb Williams in this podcast, because everyone who says that Williams is a generational talent, I get it and I agree. I think Williams is a great talent. However, the term generational goes around every single year with a new prospect, and I just personally don't think right now that Williams is even worth considering. Now, Fields needs to continue this upward trajectory he's on, but we just finished week 5. I mean, it is still so early in the season. The offense is starting to cook. So if they can continue to do so, we don't even have this as a thought in our mind, or we shouldn't. I think at the end of the day, Justin Fields and Caleb Williams are very comparable in their college stats. And in my opinion, Justin Fields went against higher competition at Ohio State and put up amazing numbers. And if you want to compare Justin Fields in college to Caleb Williams in college, they're very, very similar. And the same flaws that people knock on Fields for the footwork, the holding onto the ball too long, always going for the big play and not taking the check downs. I think there's so many similarities, and you're crazy to think that Ryan Poles and this evaluating staff isn't also seeing these similarities, but the difference is Justin Fields is a much better athlete in general. And you know that from looking at the games last year. I mean, that's stuff that I really don't think Caleb Williams would do. And that's not to say if for some reason the Bears traded Fields or got rid of him and we got Caleb Williams, I do think Caleb Williams will have a successful NFL career. But we have something good going with Fields, and if he continues this upward trajectory, this is happening a lot in this video, I guess. If he continues to excel and get better and better as the season goes on, and we do get the first round pick, imagine what we could do with that trade back value. Finally build the trenches and get another wide receiver, and we are set. So I say all this to say I could go on another 20-minute tangent about all this, but I'll just sum up by saying I will not be doing Caleb Williams talk unless something drastic changes towards the end of the season, and it's a possibility. And I think we need to do that. But at this point, I stand behind Fields, I stand behind our quarterback, and I think he is our quarterback of the future. And I'm really, really excited to see how the rest of the season goes. And I think you guys should be too. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to tell you what to believe or who to root for or any of that, but I think we have something really cool in Fields and really special. And seeing how much he's transforming already. And we have to keep in mind, he just finally finished playing a full 2 seasons in the NFL this last game, if he even did. Yeah, his first 30 games. So he hasn't even had a full, like we say going into year 3, but he hasn't even had a full 3 years of NFL experience. So we're really putting a lot on his shoulders because of this draft scenario that we might have. But if he continues to improve, that's all Poles wanted. He just wanted to see Fields improve. So if he continues to do that and continues to put up numbers even relatively close than what he's put up these past 2 weeks, I mean, 8 touchdowns and 1 turnover and 500, I think, and something yards in 2 games, I don't think he's going to do that every week. But if he can even have a little over half of those stats going forward and continue to improve, I think we have something really, really cool we're building up to. And I, as a Bears fan, I'm super, super excited. So let me know in the comments down below what your score prediction is going to be for this upcoming week against Minnesota. And I thank you guys all for watching. This has been the Shecago Bears. I'm Alexis Jade. Have a good rest of your week.